think you're going to return a much stronger person and much more centered in yourself. I think it's super powerful. And this is also one of the reasons, one of the reasons I think it's so powerful is because it's so uncomfortable, especially in the beginning, right? What's up, Matt?
Hey, team. What you got?
So we've been off for a while now, and one of the reasons was that I was at least traveling a lot, and I think you were too. And so maybe we'll do a little bit of a different episode today, which is talk about travel, in particular because I think we talk a lot about productivity and like how to improve your life. Right. And I think not working also improves your life. So why don't we talk about traveling?
That is true. Actually, on that topic, effort, lack of effort, like work or not work. I was seeing a video the other day about this guy. Of course, I don't remember his name. That's how we prepare the podcast. But yeah, so he's an expert on flow and productivity and everything related. And he created this video. It was very cool, related to what he calls allostatic load. And basically his concept in a nutshell is that you need to take time off to recover, to be able to be really productive when you actually work and to get into the flow state faster.
Yeah. Same way that you need rest days from the gym to grow your muscles, right?
Yeah. But would you say holidays are rest time for you?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that gets right into like a topic I wanted to talk about before we get into specifics. I think like why do we travel, right? I think like one reason to travel is to relax, right? Like to get off work. But since I don't have a 9 to 5 job, so for me it's a little bit different, I think. So I think it has changed over time, throughout my life. The reasons for why I wanted to travel have changed, and that also how the type of trips I do have changed. And also I think there's like vacation and staycation, which is a type of relaxing, right? You can do you can go on holidays in your city or whatever. So what are reasons for you to travel?
It changed with time. So in the past, used to be like I really wanted to break free of my hometown and learn about new places, different people, different cultures, and really kind of like start afresh in a way. Because especially when you travel in a situation where you actually live in a place for a while, it kind of like gives that feeling that you have to. It has good and less good aspects, right? Like every time you settle in a new place, let's say you're traveling for a longer period of time and you're staying in a city, you have to figure out the basics, where's the supermarket closest, right? That doesn't rip you off, or where's the dry cleaner, things like that. And so for me, I think back then when I was like in the early 20s, it was like that. And then not that I didn't travel for holidays, but like it was more traveling to explore and settle somewhere and experience living like a local in another place.
Yeah.
Then what happened was that recently, and in the past few years, I settled.
Have you settled? I guess you have.
I mean,
as much as you've ever settled.
I guess,
for sure.
Geographically, but
I'm not there yet.
Not mentally, maybe, but yeah. So the point is then what happened is that, of course, it then became holidays, purely holidays, right? And the work I do, they're not always purely holidays, meaning like it's half a day still work, and the other half a day maybe I can take it off.
When's the last time you fully took off for many days and didn't think about work?
I think in a year I do 2 weeks like that, like 2 weeks without working at all.
Okay.
But this summer I tried doing them with an interval, meaning like doing 1 week of holiday, then coming back to work, and then doing another week of holiday. Because the last couple of years I noticed that doing 2 weeks at the same, like together, what happened was I was getting bored of being on holiday. I wanted to do things.
Yeah. I feel you.
Yeah. So this way worked because I had 1 week I rested, and then 1 week of work, which was still like, summer work for me is not the same rhythm. So still, for me, it's partially still a holiday, and then another week of like full holiday. I mean, yeah. But I need physically, like I need situations that like physically put me off of the mental status of work. Like
you can't do a staycation, I guess.
Yeah, because if those are, then you still work. And so what I did was like I went sailing, right? And sailing is perfect. There's barely internet most of the times. You're busy doing a lot of other things. So like, yeah, that was perfect for me.
Yeah. Would you say that there's like two main categories for why we travel? One is escaping from something, and the other one is looking for something specific somewhere?
It's an interesting way to look at it. I guess you're always ultimately looking for, like, don't want to get philosophical immediately, but like, even when you escape from something, especially when you travel, you're going somewhere. There's this act of like deciding where you want to go, and that, I think once in my life I did this like last minute thing where I went to the airport. I think you did it as well, right?
I did it once. It was a failure, but yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because you have.
But I mean, it can be. I mean, today also it's different these days because right now we usually do it on the internet. So like, I think like once when I was 20, before the days of the internet, I just went with my friend to the airport and we were looking for a flight and couldn't find anything. But now it's like sometimes it's like, with one of my girlfriends in the past, we were like, we want to go somewhere next week. Let's check for flights, and then we randomly looked for flights on Google Flights, like with the map. Like I remember once with my ex-girlfriend, we were just like zoom into the area of the world where we're kind of interested in and look for the cheapest flights in that basically continent. Right? We wanted to go to South America. We're like, okay, what's the cheapest flights, and then we just take that.
That's pretty cool. But by the way, I really like. I don't know if they still have the feature on Google Flights where they tell you, actually, if you fly to this other city, which is like an hour distant, you save X amount of money. Pretty smart.
I don't know, actually.
There was like, especially, I think it was a few months ago, I was checking for France, and they were like, I wanted to go to, I think it was Nantes. And then it was like, oh, actually, if you go to this other city, which I never heard of, you can then, take a.
Yeah, but again, this is like sometimes you just want to get away, but sometimes you really want to go to a place for a particular reason, right? So
yeah.
So I mean, for example, like I always go to Portugal to surf. I mean, sometimes you go visit friends. That's also we can go there like because like you could do like resort, or you could do hostel hopping, or camping, or you go visit friends, or you go to an event. I mean, that's I don't even know if that's still travel, I guess, but like recently most of my trips have been for particular reasons to particular places, and if it was my job, it would be work trips, but they're not work. So but it's particular events that I want to go to, right, in different countries.
That's interesting. It's not something that I usually do. Sometimes I did it, but like mostly. So for work, I barely travel these days. You can do everything virtually with people, and it almost feels like a waste of time. It's not, because meeting people is important, but like then what I do is I end up meeting people for pleasure, not for work. So and so what I tend to go on holiday without a specific like event or happening in mind, but then. Everywhere I go, I always feel like I want to experience the local version, like live like a local, even when I go on holiday. I don't like one weird habit that I used to have, and I still do. I go to a city, I'm drawn towards like going to the movie theater, cinema, right? Like, and it's like, why you go to visit a city? Like you go to a city for like, because I like the idea of like the feeling of you go. It's not that it changes.
You could also just always take your dirty laundry with you and then wash it there if you really don't go.
Yeah,
no, but I see what you're saying. I think it's also nice, like once you have longer trips, because I always only travel with a backpack, regardless how long I go. Like my backpack or the stuff I take, my backpack in that case is always the same, regardless if I go for 5 days or 5 months. It's always the same. I have the same stuff.
Wow,
it makes no difference. Yeah. So I always like when I go for longer, I just have to wash every week. So basically, regardless where I go and for how long, I mean, almost regardless, I'm bringing the same stuff. So I have a backpack that has been the same for I know exactly when I bought it. Actually, 2013 or 14, because I went to the first trip I did with it was for the World Cup in Brazil in 2014. Because I think right before, like almost, I don't know if like it was in a row really, but like the year before, I think airlines had lost my suitcases like 5 times.
Okay.
And I decided to never ever check in a suitcase again, which I then did for the first time in 2014. And since then, I've always traveled with the same backpack. Some caveats to this, but like 95% of the time. And it's always the same stuff, regardless if I go for 1 week or 5 months. So
Now I want to know. I want to know what's the perfect backpack, because I mean, before you answer that, like I'm actually the opposite. I tend to like, you don't have to give me like a luggage that's slightly bigger, because I'll fill it up. There's always this just in case I might need it, right?
Yeah,
and then
that's
always.
But
it's like,
if you have a small backpack, you have to
right.
limit yourself. That's the nice thing.
Right. Yeah, and then I bring literally clothes that I don't use when I'm there, and I'm like, okay, why did I?
I hate bringing stuff that I don't use. So
Yeah.
my packing is super quick, right? Because of this, like wherever I go, packing takes me 10 minutes. Doesn't matter if I go for 6 months or 6 days. It's always 10 minutes of packing.
You should keep a backpack ready then. That's perfect.
A backpack what? Yeah, it is. I actually do. Like I have a backpack with like all the stuff I use for travel. There's some exceptions, like when I go on a surf trip, I bring some surf specific things, but like very rarely. But usually I have like the stuff that I always like. My passport is always in this backpack, and like some basic toiletries are always in there, and so on. And then the only thing I put is like 6 days worth of like clothing or something, 6 to 10 depending.
So you have your let's call it beauty case, or I don't know how it's called, with like bathroom stuff.
Are we doing a travel packing list?
Yeah,
now?
I want to know. I mean, it's amazing. And actually, the idea of having it ready is perfect. It's like anytime you can decide, I'm out. I love it.
It's just clothing and my toiletries, really, and my passport. And,
you don't want to tell us what's inside. Okay, I see.
It's really that. Like the basic stuff is the same, like clothing and toiletries, and then okay. Sometimes I bring the laptop, and sometimes I don't. I think that's the main thing that changes.
Like this brings me to so recently I've been, I don't know if obsessed is the right word, but I like to have like very simple setups also at home. And so like with things always in the same place, so that I don't have to like use my mind for like thinking about things, right? I already think about other like important things that I don't want to think about, like where's my charger or things like that. So what I started doing recently more and more is creating duplicates of like things I use a lot, especially the ones I use for when I travel so let's say in my backpack I have a double computer charger and phone charger, so I don't have to think about it like, oh, I have to put it in my backpack when I get out of my apartment or things like that.
Yeah.
And I apply that also for bathroom stuff, like everything that like I need to replenish. Always try to keep like a second pair, like a second.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, so you don't have to.
So
yeah.
Potentially that's what you're doing as well, right? For traveling.
No, I mean for I always put the clothes, but like it's so easy. I just like put some underwear, some t-shirts, some sweaters, some pants. Like that, that changes a bit on depending on where I'm going, because I'm not always taking a big sweater if I'm going to the beach, and so that will change. So I don't put the clothes ahead of time,
okay.
But everything else is in there, and then I just like take it out. It's really funny because like oftentimes I stayed at my mom's house before I traveled for several reasons, but like one of the reasons is that she lives close to the airport, and it's so funny. She's like, "Oh, don't you have to go in like 10 minutes?" And and I didn't even pack yet. It's funny, and I'm going for like 2 months. Yeah,
I like it. So basically, okay, so you have this backpack. So when you arrive there, and let's say you're staying more than, I guess a backpack for me would last 24 hours, but let's say more than a couple of days, what, like you go to the dry cleaner then? Like how does it work?
No. The backpack I have is actually a really nice backpack. I don't even know if I want to tell people. It's not. So it is a backpack that also has wheels. So it's like it kind of turns into like a what are they called? Little suitcases with
like
wheels.
A trolley, something like that.
Trolley, I guess.
Trolley,
yeah. But the good thing is that, I mean, it's actually way bigger than it's supposed to be an overhead, to be under the seat in front of you, because like they have all the new rules, the cheap airlines. I almost don't want people to hear this to hear this episode. But the good thing is, like, I think like for 10 years I've been doing this, and I always just select like the small item. I never select like any neither carry-on nor check-in luggage. And it's always way too big for the seat under in front of me. But I always just have it and I put it on my back, and they never catch me. And I'm always thinking, if they ever catch me, I just pay the fee. But I've always done like 200 trips like this, and they never caught me. Like if they do, then I pay one
These
euro
are like
per trip.
Team's travel hacks. I like it. Yeah. I think it's a good tangent.
Don't copy me, because if everyone does it, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, but I think I understand the logic, right? If you can keep it on your back and is not taller than your head, they won't notice that it's bigger.
Exactly.
I guess, right?
Yeah. So exactly. So it. I mean, if you really look at it, it's obvious that it's too big. But if it's on my back, no one will see it. So I usually have like a week worth of clothing in there, and the stuff I always need, the toiletries and so on. But it's always full. Like regardless how long my trip is, the thing is always full. And sometimes I need to bring some extra stuff for particular reasons. Like if I go surfing, I need to bring my surf shoes, which I don't want to surf without. Sometimes I forget, then I need to buy them again, which sucks. But and often like when I forget something, then I tend to buy it there. Hopefully it's not too expensive. And then the laptop. Sometimes I take it, sometimes I don't. I try not to take it if it's for leisure, but sometimes I do.
Yeah, that's another big topic. I mean, I recently, not recently, a couple of years ago, I guess, bought an iPad thinking, I'm going to use this when I'm on the move. Like every time I hear somebody that bought an iPad and says, I don't know why I bought it. I don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always the same.
And I always thought that. And then for some reason, I got convinced that I was going to use it like when sometimes I go work outdoor. Even in my city. And the thing is, like, I was like, I'm going to use the iPad. It doesn't work. It's not the same. If you're used to a laptop, it's very hard. Some people work from their phone. I don't know how they do it. Maybe if you work from your phone, you can work from your iPad, but like, not me. So that's another point, because then if you bring your laptop already, it creates a bit of a overhead. And also,
I mean, I only pack stuff, including my laptop, if I'm 100% sure I'll use it. Like I never bring stuff that I might use. This is my rule. If I might use it, I don't bring it. If I will use it for sure, I'll bring it.
Yeah, it's a good rule, I think.
Because like anything that you might need, you can figure out without it. Like for example, even if I go and I don't have my laptop, and for some reason I really need a computer, I'll find some I don't know, co-working that has a computer, or like I'd ask a friend that I'm traveling with or whatever.
Internet points. I don't think they even exist anymore. The internet.
There's always a way. Like there's always a way. Like hostels have computers sometimes. Hotels have computers sometimes. Like there's always a way. And also like recently I went on a trip with with several friends where I didn't want to work, but then I went on it was like a dancing trip for a retreat for like a week, and then I decided I wanted to work, and then I asked my friend for their laptop. That's it.
I mean, I think if there's something that I can do from an internet point, or I can do it from my phone. The main difference is like,
it's so important.
If I need to work in a session of work, it's just gonna get slower, and so I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm on holiday. I want to make this very quick. If I do it from my phone, it takes 3 times the necessary.
Yeah, but that's why if it's really, really important, you'll do it. If not, then you just don't do it. And that's why I don't want to, like, if I don't take my laptop, I don't want to work.
No, it makes sense. Right. Yeah. The other point I would say about traveling is that, okay, we talked about the backpack thing and in packing, very important piece. I think it says a lot about how one approaches the time away, let's say. The other thing is that, I guess, there's this thing with jet lag. I recently experienced jet lag, and I think most of it, I mean, there's a portion that is like scientifically proven that is actually, your body has to adapt. But I think a lot of it is psychological. Like, you think you're going to suffer it, and you're going to suffer because of that. It's like, when when you have a wearable, like we talked about Fitbit and,
Yeah.
And in the morning after you check, you're like, oh gosh, I slept 4 hours and
I
it's the
should
same
be
thing.
tired. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, for jet lag, I actually think I'm super sensitive to it, and I don't think everyone is the same. But I personally, I strongly believe that I'm super sensitive to jet lag and also just in general, like lack of sleep. And I have this. I mean, because I go to all these dance events where everyone's dancing at night, and then goes to bed at like, I don't know, 8 in the morning or something. I can't do it. It's so difficult for me. Like, I mean, I can force myself, but I'm not gonna enjoy myself. So like, also like late nights out, I can't do anymore. And jet lag is the same. Like when I come back from someone, I need like 2 weeks to recover. Like I can make it work, but I'm gonna feel awful for 2 weeks. For me, it's very strong.
The two things here that I notice work for me is at least are when you land somewhere that, like, we're talking jet lag, so we're talking at least 5 hours difference, right? Like less than that, I think it's manageable. You barely notice, maybe for one day. So one thing is like doing sports. Fitness kind of like resets my body, so like I manage to recover faster, like to feel it maybe way less than I used to in the past. And the other thing that I notice is like traveling, which is very simple, but it's like taking a flight at night, because of course it depends where you go, but like getting to a place and waking up, of course, sleeping on an airplane is not the same as in a bed, but like I noticed that like landing in a place and it's morning and you slept the night before, even on a plane, kind of like gives me, it kind of is a reset as well, because you already reset every day because you go to sleep and wake up, right? So I don't know, I can sleep pretty much every time I want. So that's not an issue.
I cannot. I really cannot. Like okay. I could never sleep during the day. And if I'm jet lagged, I cannot sleep at the local time for several days. It's honestly impossible for me. I cannot make myself fall asleep. Even if I'm super, super exhausted, I cannot.
Because I mean, in airplanes, they pump out oxygen to kind of like calm people down, right? So which is kind of
no, that's not the case. That's not true.
It was the case.
No, it's not. The oxygen. No, the oxygen. It's true that the oxygen is lower, but it's not. It doesn't have the purpose of calming people down. It's to keep a pressure difference to outside, and also to save costs. Because if you pressurize the airplane at 1 atmosphere, which is like ground level pressure, it's expensive to do, and it makes the doors not close properly. So that's the reason. It's
interesting, but still, it does the same. It achieved the same purpose, right? Like maybe it's not the goal.
I don't know if it calms people down. I don't think so.
I mean, think about like when you are like in casinos, they pump in oxygen because that wakes you up.
I heard that before. I don't know if it's true, but maybe.
So it's conspiracy.
I mean, it could be one of those things that it's a conspiracy. I don't know, but maybe, who knows? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, have you ever been, like, if you go to a casino, there are two things.
Yeah, of course. I've been to Vegas.
Lights everywhere.
There's a lot of things they do. They also give you free alcohol all the time. Yeah.
All the time awake. Not only because of lights, I think, because of also the oxygen. Yeah. Anyway,
I'm looking it up. I'm sure you've heard the myth that oxygen is pumped into casinos. This is, in fact, the enduring Vegas myth of all time. There's no mechanism actually pumping extra oxygen into the system. So it's a long-standing myth. Yeah.
Okay, so they're both. No, I mean, one is not a myth, but maybe the goal is not to calm people down. I always thought like
they don't. So just to clarify, they don't remove oxygen from the air. They just lower the total air pressure. I mean, it's not even that they lower it. It lowers itself.
Right.
When you fly, when the airplane rises, it lowers because the outside pressure lowers. They actually counteract the pressure, but not to the full extent to save money. That's it.
Okay, that's interesting. Anyway, I think it has an effect. You see people
it could. I don't know. Yeah, it makes you sleepy probably. Yeah. Also, this is super, super not the topic, but it's really funny. I saw that probably on a Veritasium video recently. But what's really funny is
we didn't talk about Veritasium yet. Okay, that's fine.
So because this is really funny, because the air pressure is lower and it's drier.
Okay.
It actually affects your sense of taste. And that's why actually food on airplanes tastes different than on the ground. The same food will taste different. It's really funny. So this is actually one of the reasons that you suddenly like tomato juice, because like it tastes different than it does on the ground.
Do you? Is it a thing? I didn't know.
It's a thing. I mean, I don't know, not for me personally, but it is a thing. So people like tomato juice more on airplanes.
I mean, there's the other point of not drinking, and this is not a myth, not drinking tea or coffee on airplanes, because the water, and actually don't use it too much, the bathroom water, because the water is full of antibiotics, because of course it's in tanks. They want to make sure that
that's possible. Yeah.
And so,
I don't know that, but I can imagine.
I can guarantee you it's the case. But yeah, so
I mean, antibiotics, I don't believe, but maybe antiseptives, or like there could be some disinfectant in there. I don't think it's the actual antibiotic.
The biological term is wrong. I agree, but like the thing is, it's not
like some disinfecting agent.
Yeah, it's not good water, and so everything that is packaged better, pretty much. That's the idea.
Could
as
be
a drink. Yeah,
but I don't know how they make the coffee and tea. I don't think they make it with the same water as the hand washing water.
I don't think they're using mineral water. They're using, the water from the tanks, and they're boiling it. And
I don't think it's the same water as in the bathroom. I mean,
no, it's not. But then the concept is similar, right? It's still a tank. Maybe it's not the same tank, but yeah. I mean, I actually
research to be done for people who care.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think I read Confessions of a like hostess or something like this. Yeah. It was talking about all this
let's not go there.
Nasty.
Some of it is, no, but actually, like the one thing that I kind of wanted to do in the beginning was like to differentiate between types of travel, right? Because, for example, like when I was, let's see, when I was like late teens, early 20s, I think like a lot of my trips were like going with my friends to party somewhere and drink a lot of alcohol and going to a beach, right? Typical stuff. I don't even know why. Maybe it's get away from the boring day to day and to meet people. I think we always, this is like philosophical, but we always want to, like, we're always looking for connection. And then I had a phase, I guess, late 20s, early 30s, where like I really wanted to see the world and I wanted to see every place. And I think some of it has faded to some extent because I've seen a lot of stuff and I don't care that much anymore. At least from, like, for example, I couldn't care less about cities and art and culture. Like I just don't care. I never go to a museum. Okay. I never go to sites. I never do any of this. Like this
is all material for another episode. I'm very curious why you don't care about those things. But yeah,
like it like I have zero interest. Like really, like anyone says let's go to a museum, I'm like no fucking way. I'm not going to a museum. There's like things that I mean, there's some exceptions. Like when I went to Egypt, I wanted to see the pyramid because like you're in Egypt, you go see the pyramids. But like everything else, I don't want to go see the big sites in a city. I don't care at all. Like when I go to cities, usually either I want to do what you said, like immerse myself in the local culture, and like be a normal person. And a normal person doesn't go see sites. And also like, it's just not interesting. I don't want to see a big building. Like I can see a picture of it. I don't care. And the other thing is like usually when go.
No, I don't want to interrupt. Yeah. I can.
No, so usually when I go to cities, it's either for a specific event that I want to, like often it's a dance event or whatever, or I want to visit someone there that lives there. That's usually like recently. That's the reasons I travel.
So you're saying for you traveling is people centric in a way, like it's all about people.
Yeah,
because
it has become. It has become people or activity centric. Like I also do trips specifically for surfing, trips specifically to see people, trips specifically to go dancing. And then I think there's one more thing, which is I really love nature. And like there's particular types of nature I really love. And that's, I guess it's also activity because like I like hiking on mountains. I like, this is like, I like being on oceans. I love oceans. And I think everything that has to do with the ocean, like surfing and diving and so on, like all of that really, really makes me happy. And being in the jungle, I really love. Like all these things I really, really love. And anything that's like has beautiful nature and exciting nature. We can talk about like, I actually wanted to talk today about like our most exciting places we've been, but I think we're out of time for that. But we could do a future one on that.
Yeah,
I think those are the main things. I think I never like any type of like resort trip, I couldn't care less. Like just being in the hotel room and just doing nothing.
No, I get it. So I think there are. Let me unpack it because there's a lot of interesting things. So related to nature, I follow you there. I think the more I age, the more I like nature.
Yeah,
I want to spend
the
time
appreciation goes up for sure.
Yeah.
I think there's like two things. Sorry to interrupt, but I think this is like something I recently found out that like, and this is philosophic again, like, you know, goes back to like, why do we do anything? What's happiness and so on. But I think if there's like 3 or 4 things in that everything that I do goes after is 2 of them are connection to people and connection to nature. I think those are like really, really grounding. Like, I don't know, I can't even like I've more and more, I think like I've condensed my priorities in life to like 4 or 5 things, and those are 2 of them: connection to people and connection to nature and the moment.
Yeah, I get it, and it makes sense, and I'm aligned. I think they are probably some of the most important aspects of life. But then the other aspects, like the local culture for sure, but also museums and like attractions of like in specific places, they kind of serve the same purpose of local culture. You could argue museums nowadays, unless you go to a local museum, you get people, you get artists from the country, sometimes not even from across international, right? It's more following a theme, right? Like it's sort of like, is it modern art, contemporary art, ancient art, so classical? So like the thing there is that it loses the local aspect, I guess. There's still a portion, generally they try to like shine a light on the local artist, but there's also a lot of this trend, which is...
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I look at it like this. If you would go, if it was the city you lived in, then go. But don't go just because it's famous in that city. I mean,
Agreed.
You can do whatever you want, obviously.
I
but
think
like,
it's a combination. Like it's, for me at least, it's immersing in a city, calling it, if we're talking about a city, but it could be a country, right? Like it's a combination of ideally would be the perfect holiday would be a combination of all the things that you mentioned, like some nature, like the country has nature, right? The city, like, does it have a park? I want to go to the park because I need that. It's like my dose of park. And then after that, there's like, okay, does it have like any good, like, I agree with you that it's like sort of brush that some people like to do, which is like, okay, we have to see all the sightseeing places. Yeah. That kind of like,
and just to clarify, I've done that in the past, but I usually don't anymore.
Yeah, it's too much, and you don't really savor any of it, and it's like, because so that you can say that you've done it, because if somebody comes, you come back, it's like, oh, you didn't see that sculpture.
Yeah, the checklist thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I still have that because I'm like, like whenever I have the chance to like check off a country on the map, kind of, I do that, which is stupid also.
Yeah,
like,
but in retrospective, I agree, it's good. I think it's fine to keep track of things. Is also part of like seeing.
Yeah, but like sometimes I'm like, I want to go to, let's say, the Balkans and like see all the countries there, just to have like 5 countries on my list, instead of going, let's say, when I'm in the United States, I could go to like 50 different states, but they're not new countries, so technically it doesn't count.
Yeah, that doesn't.
There's way more different kind of nature in the United States than if you like travel, in the Balkans or something. Which
I think in retrospective, the point is like, if I am not against keeping track of things, because I think it brings you memory, like helps you remember what you've done in your life. But then doing things just to cross off, I agree, it doesn't make any sense. But then I think a combination
I still do it, but it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But it's how many things can we do that don't make sense? But I think the aspect is, for me, going to a museum is kind of the same as going for a meditation session or into a church. I kind of like, for me, I have the same. Meditation is slightly different, I would say, but like kind of like in the same bucket, I would put them, because any of these, like when you get in, you're different when you get out, because what happens is that you stop thinking constantly. I mean, that what happens to me, logically thinking, I have to do this, I have to do that, and this happens, and you just you just immerse in the environment, and when you meditate, you immerse in whatever is around you.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just have that from other things. I get that from nature, like hikes in nature. I get that. I get that from surfing. I get that from dancing. Those are like, I think those are the three things that make me the happiest when I travel. And I think in life in general. And I think those are the things. Like, I'm totally in the moment when I'm in the ocean surfing. I'm totally in the moment when I'm hiking. I mean, I try to be at least. And I'm totally in the moment when I'm dancing. I think that's where I get this. I just don't get it in museums. In museums, I just get bored and my brain does stuff.
Makes sense. But yeah, so overall, I think we're aligned on the kind of like the reasons why we travel. But this exploration thing, I also agree that it faded away a little bit for me. Like before, I had this drive of want to explore, live in other places, and figure out how life can be different somewhere else. And then you realize after having done it maybe a few times that it's kind of like a routine of like you get to a new place, you have to, as I said, you have to find the spots that you need to live your everyday life. You have to create your own group of connections, which is fun. It's something that I wouldn't do constantly though. Like every X amount of years, I guess I would like to do this exercise still because it.
Yeah, but that's more like moving places, which is a totally different thing, which we both have a lot to say about, I bet. Also, I think one thing is that I notice with myself also is that I'm less tolerant to discomfort than I used to be. And like, I would like sleep in the most uncomfortable hostels, like super dirty and whatnot, just to save money. And now I'm like, come on, like, no way. No way I'm doing that. I mean, I still do it sometimes. I think hostels are still fun, but like I think what I'm willing to take is different, and I also only do it for short periods of time. Like I can't do hostel hopping anymore. I think it's just like,
and it's gonna get worse. The more we age, the less we're gonna go. You get to compromise, I think. And I agree. Like you build it's like the duplication of like items that I mentioned before. Like you create your own setup, and then when you shift and you go, like when you move to another place, even just for a few days, you kind of like miss the comfort of like your setup and everything. But it's needed. The point is like, I think if you're too much, I see it also, my mind works differently. Traveling is so important for me to like reset and get new ideas and get the time to think.
Yeah.
When I'm in the same environment for too long, I don't function as well. And every time, like even just a weekend, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Nature is great for that. But
for sure.
In a city, I at least where I am, like.
Yeah, I don't do city trips anymore. Really, I think if I do, they're short. I mean, actually, if I do it, it's usually to visit someone or like because it's a city to go through on my way to somewhere. I think like if I go to a city, it's for a dance event or some other event or to visit someone. I don't think there's any other reason for me to go to a city. I think maybe there's a few cities I would still like to see, but I can't even think of any right now, honestly.
But one last thing I wanted to ask you is about solo trips, because that kind of like is in a way, I mean, you would have to define solo trip because, for instance, you're saying I go to an event, there are probably people at the event, so that's not technically a solo trip, right? Although you travel by yourself maybe sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But there's something, I've done it a few times, and generally for moving to another, like living in another place, but like it's one of those things for me, at least, it drains energy, so I need to be careful and do it like every few X amount of years. But it has some beauty in it, right? Because you have to figure things out, and well, I don't know if you have a take on that.
I think well, first of all, I think everyone should do it at least once. I think everyone should do one longer solo trip in their life to really be out of your comfort zone. I think it's a super powerful thing to do. Ideally, I think you should do it in a place that's very different from where you're from. I think it's really jumping in the cold water. I think like if anyone can do like a solo trip to like, let's say China or maybe some country in sub-Saharan Africa or something and like be okay for a couple of weeks, I think you're going to return a much stronger person and much more centered in yourself. I think it's super powerful. And this is also one of the reasons, one of the reasons I think it's so powerful is because it's so uncomfortable, especially in the beginning, right? We're so used to having certain conveniences and people around, and like being really like reliant on your own and your own like kind of like creativity to like deal with problems that are super not common. I mean, I just remember the first time I went to China, I was like, what the fuck? nothing works. I mean, and China is like fairly developed country, right? It's not like,
right.
Actually, I think like many non-developed countries are easier than China because China is just so different.
They're very different country. Yes.
Yeah. And it's just like, I was struggling so much. It gave me the biggest headache and I was like so stressed out. But I mean, once I kind of figured it out, it was super awesome. I love China. But I think the initial shock was crazy.
But the initial shock, I agree, is what opens your mind and 100%. Also gives you like inspiration, because then you understand another culture.
I mean, you grow outside of the comfort zone. I think we both know this. Like to grow, you need to be out of the comfort zone. You won't grow at home. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, No, I agree. Traveling to a new place, a place you've never been, because then there's also the tendency of like, let me always go to the same place. But traveling to a new place is really the thing. And you should, like, ideally what I try to do at least, a couple of times a year is try to do that. That's
I think in general, and I think we both have this, and this like the looking for discomfort, I think is a super powerful thing. We both have it, and I think that's why we're so excited about growth and change and so on, which has its negative sides. I think let's not get into the philosophical things, because like it might reduce happiness. I think it makes you grow, but it doesn't necessarily make you happy. And also like moving places, which is like another form of this, I would say, like this whole explorer mindset. And I think we're both people that have moved a lot and lived in different countries and cultures. And I always say, and I think this is true, that I cannot date a person that hasn't lived in many countries. I find it really, really difficult to connect with people that have always lived in the same country. And I think because living in another country, even more strongly than like traveling a lot, makes you grow in a way that no class or university can teach you. I think it's like having I've lived in, I think, 5 countries or something, but like even having lived in one other country that's fairly different from yours, I think makes you grow more than any degree in the world.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if I would be so strongly opinionated on like living, but if you're a person that you travel in a lot of places and spend some time there, that could still be like it's about shared experiences every time.
Yeah, I think some amount of travel will probably equate to like living there. But like if all you've done is like once a year you go to like Spain to the beach, I don't think it's the same.
Yeah, it's also the kind of traveling. If you do a road trip or a backpacking trip,
for sure.
Like that's a way different trip than, I take a flight, 100%. I go to a hotel and I go to a breakfast in the hall of the hotel, and then I go out for museums.
Exactly. So there's something there. Yeah. I think like I'm weirdly attracted to people, like romantically or not, that have been in different cultures, because like it opens their mind in a way that I think nothing else does. And I think
totally agree.
Yeah.
Maybe
there's a good a good point to stop, because I think like maybe we can do one on like personal experiences and favorite places and so on in the future.
Actual experiences and cultures. Sounds good.
I think it'd be nice. All right, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, and have a nice day.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.